Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Attic of Piedmont Trails. My name's Carol, and I want to welcome each and every one of you to the live stream. Hope everyone's had a great weekend. It's been beautiful weather up here in the high country today, and we have enjoyed it tremendously. Um, those of you who are joining me, say hi to me. Let me know where you're from. Let me know what you're working on this weekend and this week, and share with me your journey as I'm going to share with you my journey from this past week. Put in the description that I'm going to share a few things from the projects that I'm working on, and namely from two of the projects, and one of them is the Colonial Indentured Servants Project, and the other one is the Great Wagon Road Project. So I'm going to share some updates from those. I'm also going to share a really short family story from that dates way back from when I was a small kid growing up in North Carolina, and I'm going to try and entice you to dig deeper into your family stories that have been passed down to you because they have valuable clues and hints, and I'm going to explain in more in depth about that with my little story that I'm going to share with you this evening. All right, so welcome everyone. Thank you for joining me this evening. Today's August 8th of 2021, and we'll get right into it with the live stream. A great deal of research this week that I've been working on has been dealt with mainly my projects. And I'm going to begin with the Colonial Indentured Servants Project. And the first thing I'm going to do is to share a book that I have just recently purchased. And this book is called White Cargo: The Forgotten History of Britain's White Slaves in America. This book is written by Don Jordan and Michael Walsh. This is a new book. It's just recently came out. I'm going to hold it up. I am currently reading this book. I am about 3/4 of the way through it. Um, Huge book. And I love everything that I have read in it so far. And I have learned so much more. He gives great statistics, great numbers, proof, documentation, backs it up with material and sources and references, and that's what you want. And excellent book. Right now, in with this project, I'm concentrating mainly in Maryland and in Virginia. And to make no mistake, I want to make sure that I say this. Colonial indentured servants were existing through all of the colonies, not just one or two, not just in Maryland or Virginia. But Maryland and Virginia did see a great number more in versus other colonies. I'm really concentrating on Captain Wollaston. It's Captain Thomas Wollaston, and a lawyer, an attorney by the name of Thomas Morton. These two men were business partners, and they arrived in Massachusetts around 1624, 1623. When they arrived, they had approximately 30 indentured servants with them. They first mainly negotiated deals with these people in furs and other items, and then later money became involved. This duo of a team, decided 2 years later in 1626 to travel from Massachusetts to Jamestown, Virginia. This is where the transactions began with the indentured servants in selling the people for money. This was a quick transaction for these two men. They sold the indentured servants very, very quickly. But now I also want to stress that so far in my studies, Thomas Morton dealt with many, many items for trade. And one of the primary items that he traded was guns. So I wanted to also stress he just wasn't into the people of indentured servants. He was also into other items. Another person that I'm researching with in this project is James Hull. And he writes a very interesting message in his journal. It dates to the 1660s. And I'm going to quote Mr. James Hull here. He says, "Several children I have brought over, and all are in good health, and so I've disposed of them and missed the having of one Sam Gaylor, who was after placed with Master Clark." Excuse me. Sales for this time period were mainly conducted on the ship. So when a ship arrived, say in Massachusetts Bay, then or along the Chesapeake's major rivers there, the planners who were interested in purchasing servants, they would actually board the ships, and they would view the people on there and bid or purchase the ones that they were interested in. And in this case, James Hull mentions one of his children passengers by name, first and last name. News of the cargo was advertised greatly, even in the 17th century, and I'm finding more and more of these advertisements all the time. The Chesapeake's major rivers were witnesses to these ships, and as they passed through, news of their cargo spread rapidly. And there were also printed advertisements as well. It was a high-paying venture, but it also contained a great deal of risk. Many risks were involved. I'm going to name some of the Maryland transporters. I'm going to give you some names here, and you can carry this research a bit further within your own studies and research, and maybe some of these surnames will be familiar to you. This is dating to the 17th century. I'm digging deeper into Maryland transporters by the name of Francis Billingsley, Henry Alexander, Francis Robertson, Nicholas Brown, and Thomas Taylor. Some of my current Maryland research into colonial indentured servant families are George Aldridge, dating to 1667, with a wife and 4 children, and Edward Bowles, dating to 1651, with a wife and 2 children. Many of the masters or planners or plantation owners petitioned to void the actual contracts, and you can find evidence of this too. And I'm going to give you an example of this, which you can actually easily find online. Nathaniel Anster petitioned to void his contract with a servant due to runaway troubles and expenses, and this petition was dated in August 1770 in Chester County, Pennsylvania. This is the primary reason why many of the masters, that they're called, wanted to void the contracts, was because due to runaway problems, expenses of trying to get them back, and the other reason was sickness and unable to work. Indentured servant surname, I'm going to give you a partial listing from my personal research that I'm conducting right now in Virginia. And these are indentured servant surnames. Wright, and that's W-R-I-G-H-T, Williams, Whitehead, Griffin, Fox, Gibbs, Evans, Green, Mills, Jones, Wilson, Tucker, Ball, and Barnes. All of these, each of those surnames that I just mentioned, they all pertain to the 1680s decade only. I'm concentrated on this particular time period with each of these surnames, and they all date to this period. So far from my research in this project, and I'm going to state this statement only for Virginia. This doesn't go for Maryland or any of the other colonies. But the length of indentureship, the length of the contract primarily in Virginia during the decade of 1680s, pertains to approximately 6 years, overall average. For the men, it seems to go from 6 to 8 years. For the women, it seems, so far with my studies, it averages between 4 and 6 years. And of course, the children are indentured up to the age of 21. Okay, and I shared the book. If you get a chance and you're really interested in this project, of course, you can email me, contact me, or ask me questions. I'm happy to help, share any information that I have came across. But this latest book that I have found, it is excellent so far, and I'll probably end up finish reading it either late this evening or early this week. But it is fantastic, a great source for this topic. Okay. I'm also working with the Great Wagon Road Project, researching the early land squatters. Don't like that word squatters, but yes, working with the land squatters along the Great Wagon Road. Um, every colony during the colonial period was just like entering into a different country. Today, their laws and their rules and traditions and customs, they all changed within the colony boundaries. So I'm currently working with a project in Pennsylvania, Virginia, and North Carolina, and I'm working in the time period with the project right now from the 1750s to the 1760s, and I'm dealing mainly with people who are migrating into York, Pennsylvania, and then leaving from there, going into Virginia, Maryland in some cases, but mainly traveling through Maryland, entering into Virginia, and then seems to be following through into North Carolina. Um, when these people, a lot of the people, they had heard of the open, and I want to say the open lands. Open lands advertisements were very frequent in the colony of Pennsylvania and in New Jersey and Delaware. This is what enticed many of these families to travel during this time period. It seems to be from 1765 through the 1770. The numbers only grew, and this could be contributed to the higher taxes that were taking place during the colonies during this time, especially in Massachusetts and the Boston area and in Pennsylvania as well. But when we talk about land squatters, these people, when they read the advertisements, they say it's open land. So from what they're hearing, well, we can just go down here and pick out our land, start working, start working on it, clearing it, building our home, and we're good to go. There are land warrants that need to be filed, an application needs to be submitted, survey needs to be paid for, and then you improve the land in order to acquire your deed. But as I'm saying this, each laws within these colonies and dealing with the land proprietor changed within the boundaries of the colonies. So you have to kind of go deeper in defining a land squatter is what my main point is here. And I hope everyone understands what I'm trying to say. And like I said, I've been currently working in the Pennsylvania, Virginia, North Carolina area. And as I stated last week, I'm still working on early mining villages and the roads that led to them. We are now locating several different routes leading into North Carolina from Virginia, and we are determining these routes by the time period, the land records, and the surveys, and many, many other different documents. So we're also investigating early routes into Tennessee and Kentucky through the western mountains of North Carolina. So what I'm saying here is I have found 3 additional routes leading into North Carolina between the years of 1750 and 1770 that I wasn't even aware of. And I've been studying roads for a long time, so we found 3 additional routes. I'm also digging deeper from finding these routes through the western mountains of North Carolina and locating additional routes possible into Tennessee and Kentucky. I've been working on these Tennessee and Kentucky routes for about 3 months now. So I found more evidence of those this week. So we'll see where that goes. All right, I don't see no questions, comments. I'm going to keep going. Family stories. I wanted to share this and let you know that family stories and even recipes can hold clues and hints for your family genealogy. And I want to share a family story with you really quick. All growing up in Forsyth County, in North Carolina, one of my family stories that was always told to me was that the Motsinger family, who arrived from Davidson County, North Carolina, into Forsyth County, arrived around 1880. And they brought all of their belongings in one trip on a wagon from the Abbott's Creek area to the area in Forsyth County. And so as I grew older, I started digging deeper into this family story and came to find out that majority of it is true. This particular family did arrive around 1881. So the time frame of the family story that was passed down from generations was true. What they left out was several details that maybe some of the family members just wasn't aware of. But during that time, the oldest child of that particular family was killed in in an ambush, shall we say, an ambush of some different coincidences that happened in the city of Winston-Salem, known as Winston then. And this happened during right before the move. So the death occurred with the eldest child, and the father of this family had already passed on. He was already dead many years before. So now we're left with a mother and a younger child who is not yet 21, and a aunt of the family who travels from Davidson County into Forsyth County. They do acquire property under the youngest son's name. And remember what I said, he wasn't quite yet 21. But they were able to get this completed. He was at the age of 18 at the time. And so follow through with your family stories, because as you can see with this example, the family was already planning on a move. But due to the death of the eldest child, the move may have been jeopardized and they wouldn't have been able to do it. But they followed through anyway. So you find stories of courage, you find stories of how they came about from one place to another. It's fascinating. So follow through with your family stories. And even in some cases, the recipes give clues and hints. I'll save that one for another time. Okay, and what I would do many years ago is I would write my family stories down. Now you can just type them out, print them out, just have you a hard copy of them. Because when you go out and you research locally, carry your little stories or your notes with you and refer back to them. See what family members said during those family stories and see if you can follow the dots and connect them all. Okay? That's my advice for the week. Okay, I want to say one more thing. We're just about done. Would you be shocked to know that approximately 60% of our history has not been properly documented? Would you be shocked if someone said that to you? New facts and data are discovered all the time. Don't think for a second that all of our history from the past has been documented, recorded, and preserved, because it's not. Dare to discover the past. All right. I still see no comments. So thank you for joining me this evening. I hope you enjoy your journey to the past this week. And let me know if I can help you out. If you have more questions about any of the books that I share with you on the live stream, let me know. My library is online on librarything.com, and you can easily see what books I have on hand. If you would like to have a look up, I'd be happy to help you out with that. Okay, so everyone have a great week, and I will see you next Sunday at 8 p.m. And God bless.